Sitting in a London boardroom, walls all polished white. CAC and TAM and LCV, everything looked right. Something's missing from this plan, can't put my finger on it. Till I asked, who is your customer? Silence, that's when I knew we lost it. You can't build a house on sand.
Oh, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're joining us or when you're watching us. Glad to have you here on our weekly Seriously Don't Do That event. Great to see some familiar faces here as well as some new ones joining us. So here's the question that's going to save some of you a lot of money today. Are you actually ready for the US market, or do you just think you are? I've been helping B2B SaaS companies build revenue engines for 25 years, and I keep seeing the same expensive pattern. Brilliant founders with great products who crash into the US market and then burn millions learning lessons they could have avoided. Today, I'm going to change that. I'm going to show you the four foundations every international company needs before they hire their first US rep, and how to audit whether you're really ready or you need to build first. Drop a comment if you're considering the US market. I want to make sure this hits exactly what you need. So let me start with introducing myself. I'm Dan Griffith. You can read here what I do. Primarily, I help founders and revenue leaders in companies that call on banking, financial services, insurance, and healthcare build revenue engines that are scalable and repeatable. So let me start today with a story that illustrates exactly what I've been talking about. I was sitting in a sparkling white boardroom in London. Even the air smelled expensive. I was there to see a 6-month US strategy presentation from a newly hired CEO. The company had just raised their Series A, and they brought me in to help with sales. The slides were beautiful, perfect projections, every acronym that makes VCs smile: CAC, TAM, LTV, 6 months of work, consulting fees, and market research. But 10 minutes in, I had to stop him. "Where's the customer?" I asked. "What do you mean? We're targeting healthcare CIOs, compliance officers, finance leaders." "No," I said. "Who is the person who wakes up Tuesday morning with the problem you have?" Silence. 1 year and $1.5 million later, they had absolutely nothing to show. They built a beautiful machine, but with no fuel to run it. That's what I call the foundation tax. Skip the basics and you pay the premium. So why does this keep happening? Let me show you the data. Here's the pattern I see over and over. Most founders spend their first 3 months in the US fixing what should have been built 6 months ago. They think they're ready because they have a product that works, customers in their home market, and money in the bank. But they've confused preparation with readiness. The fundamental problem? They're targeting demographics instead of customers. Healthcare CIOs at 500-bed hospitals isn't a customer, it's a phone book. For those of you that don't know what phone books are, us old people used to use that to look up phone numbers and call people on our rotary dial telephones. So all of you can put boomer in the comments if you want to say that. But the point here is healthcare CIOs at 500-bed hospitals are not a customer. So look, drop a comment right now, other than the fact that I'm old. When you describe your ideal customer, do you start with job title and company size, or do you start with the problem they wake up with on Tuesday morning? Let me break down the four foundations that you will need to get it right. Foundation number one, customer clarity beyond demographics. Here's what I mean. You can't target, quote, healthcare CIOs. That's like saying you're targeting people with money, which is not in of itself a bad thing. It's just not specific enough to create urgency. Instead, you need to know what makes them take your call on Tuesday morning. What is their buying trigger? And what is it? What problem is expensive enough that justify them writing a check and changing vendors. Let me give you a real example. I worked with a chronic disease wearable company. They were chasing FDA approval so doctors could prescribe their device, a 3-year process with one-on-one sales. But the real buyers? Managed care organizations and self-funded employee health programs who wanted to drive down the cost of treating chronic conditions. Completely different market, completely different sales process. So here's the test. If you can't describe your ideal customer's problem better than they can in 30 seconds to someone who's never heard of your company, then you're probably not ready. But even if you nail the customer, you can still get the message wrong. Foundation 2, message market fit over message volume. I see founders make this mistake constantly. They think, let's test 12 different value propositions and see which one works best. Here's what actually happens. Committees produce compromise. They settle on ideas that everyone can agree on, but confused messaging creates confused buyers. Instead, one clear message, 50 conversations, listen to how they respond. If they lean in and say, tell me more, you've got something. If they nod politely and change the subject, well, you're back to the drawing board. Your message needs to create urgency, not just interest. Interest gives you a second meeting. Urgency gets you budget conversations. Anyone in the comments want to test their 30-second pitch? Drop it below and I'll give you feedback after the session. So, great message, but if you cannot deliver on it constantly, foundation 3, process discipline before skill. Show of hands or drop a comment. How many of you close 60% of your deals while your sales reps close 20%? You think, just need better reps. Wrong. You need a better process. What you call sales intuition is actually undocumented pattern recognition. You've had 1,000 conversations. Your rep has had 50. Your job isn't to be the best closer forever. Your job is to build a closing system that works without you. The reality is, founder magic doesn't cross oceans, process does. I've seen founders hire a VP of sales before they know what those VPs should actually be doing. They build teams before they understand their own buyer's journey. The fix? Document everything. Your discovery questions, your demo flow, your objection handling, your follow up sequences. If it's in your head, then it doesn't scale. But if even perfect process fails without the right data. So foundation 4 is data confidence before prediction. Here's the question that separates ready to scale from hoping to scale. Can you predict next quarter's bookings within 15%? If the answer is no, unfortunately, you're flying blind. I see this constantly. Oh, we'll clean up our CRM later. We're too busy. Things are going great. We'll figure this out once reporting. We'll figure out our reporting once we have more deals. But that's really backwards. You need clean data before you scale, not after. So take a look at your pipeline right now. Do you trust those numbers enough to bet your runway on them? If not, don't hire anyone yet. What this looks like when it's good is every deal has very clear stage definitions. Number 2, your activities tied to outcomes. Number 3, you can tell exactly where deals get stuck. And number 4, your forecast is based on evidence, not optimism. I'm not going to bore you with the hope is not a strategy, but it isn't, especially when it comes to forecasting. So here's a reality check for you. If you can't predict your own business, how can you convince investors to invest more in it? So let me put this all together for you. Here's what separates companies that scale from companies that just spend. The go-to-market order of operations. It's not optional. Number 1, ICP clarity. Who has urgent, expensive problems that you can solve and that they want to solve in the next 6 to 12 months? Number 2, messaging. What story makes them lean in? Number 3, sales process. How do we convert interest to revenue? And number 4, a CRM. How do we predict and scale? So the temptation is everyone wants to go right to step 4. Hire the VP, buy the tools, start generating leads. The reality, if you skip a step, you're going to waste your runway. I've watched brilliant founders burn months because they optimized funnels, before they had clear messaging, built processes before they understood their buyer. Do the boring work first. Customer interviews, message testing, process documentation, data hygiene. Foundations first, tactics second, always. Which brings us to your choice. You have two paths forward. Build foundations first, so that means customer clarity beyond demographics, message market fit over volume, process discipline before scale, data confidence for decisions. Result, scale with confidence, capital efficiency. Or number two, skip to tactics. Hire first, figure out strategy later, test everything, master nothing, optimize before you understand, and then just hope for the best. Result, you're going to learn the expensive way. Which path are you on right now? So drop a comment here. Are you building foundations or are you paying tuition at the school of expensive mistakes? If you can explain your customer's problem better than they can in less than 30 seconds to someone who's never heard of your company, you might be ready for path one. If you can't do that, you're not ready for any market, let alone the US. So, what's next for you? Here's what I'd like you to do right now. Take 5 minutes after this session and honestly assess those four foundations. Rate yourself 1 to 10 on each one. If you're not at least a 7 on all four, don't hire anyone yet. Remember, we're just getting started with our September focus on foundations. Today was about US market readiness, but the principles apply whether you're expanding internationally or just trying to scale domestically. Next week, we're tackling something I see even more. Seriously, don't mistake activity for strategy. For seriously, don't. Boy, that's a tongue twister. So don't try to say this more than once. Seriously, don't mistake activity for strategy. Are you confusing motion with traction? I'm going to show you how your marketing machine isn't broken. It's just not focused on your ICP. Too many founders are busy, 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 but getting nowhere. We'll fix that. For those ready to go deeper, I've created a simple US go-to-market foundation checklist that scores you on all four areas and tells you exactly what gaps to fill. If you want to audit your readiness before you invest big money, I'm offering free 30-minute foundation diagnostic calls this month. No pitch, just an honest assessment of where you stand and a clear roadmap forward. Comment audit if you want the checklist, and I'll send it to you. Comment ready if you want to book a diagnostic call. So, our final thought for today, the choice is simple. Build foundations first and scale with confidence, or skip the steps and pay what I call the foundation tax. Thank you for joining me today. We'll look forward to seeing you next week for the deep dive into customer clarity.
On sand, you can't scale what you don't understand. Foundations first, then you can fly. Skip the steps, your dreams will die. Foundations first, that's how you win. Lay your foundation, then begin. Foundations first, that's how you win. Pour your foundation, then begin.